The movie begins with a scene in a busy airport where we see lots of people on their phones and devices. We meet our protagonist Clay as he is using his phone to call his estranged wife Sharon, who is busy picking up their son Johnny from school. He is calling to let them know he just sold his graphic novel, and he's about to take a flight back to New Hampshire to see them and celebrate. He switches to video to talk to his son, when suddenly his battery runs out. He looks for an open socket to plug his phone in, but they all appear to be taken. He makes his way over to a payphone and puts in a few quarters. He's able to call Sharon back, but they're only able to talk for a few seconds before the call runs out. While he puts more change into the phone, he glances around the airport and starts to notice a lot of unusual behavior around him. He sees several people holding their heads in pain, while others start to have seizures and foam at the mouth. It appears they are all getting some kind of strange signal from their phones. Suddenly, a man enraged by the signal bursts out of the bathroom and tackles a nearby girl. He begins beating her savagely while her friends start screaming. Clay jumps into her defense, but unfortunately he is too late. Her friend takes out her phone to call 911, but then she too gets overtaken by the phone signal as she starts slamming her face against a nearby wall. As chaos erupts around him, Clay sees a plane explode out the window nearby as it heads straight toward him, so he runs down some stairs toward a subway station. There he is helped onto a subway car by a group of survivors. It is here we are introduced to Tom, the subway conductor, who tells them that unfortunately without any power the train won't go anywhere, and that the area will soon flood, as there will likely be no one to pump out the groundwater, given the state of things. He says their only option is to walk the tracks, but everyone seems afraid. After brief deliberation, Tom and Clay decide to leave together, while everyone else stays behind in the subway car for some reason. At the last minute, another man decides to join them. He introduces himself as Mike, but says people call him DJ Liquid. As they set out down the tunnel, they are immediately attacked from the shadows by a man with an axe who manages to get Mike right in the chest. Clay and Tom are forced to run, as others now begin to chase them. They manage to make it up a ladder to street level, and then block the hatch with a dumpster. They are then seen arriving at Clay's apartment, luckily unharmed. With the power out and his phone dead, Clay asks to use Tom's phone to send a text to his wife, figuring that should be safe. Unfortunately, the response he gets back is garbled gibberish nonsense, not a good sign. They later hear a loud banging at the door and let in a young girl named Alice who was covered in blood. She says her mom had been affected by the signal and she was forced to take her life. She is clearly terrified and probably in shock. They let her use the last of the hot water to take a shower and get a change of clothes. The next day, they are discussing their plans while observing the hordes of people outside moving around like zombies, with Alice noticing they seem to be acting like a flock of birds. Clay tells them he intends to go to New Hampshire to find his wife and son, and Tom and Alice agree to go there with him. They make their way outside into the daylight, and fortunately for them, their path now seems clear, and the streets deserted. They begin to walk. They soon come across a house with a lot of signs indicating that the homeowners are big supporters of the Second Amendment. Clay decides to check it out because they could use some weapons on their side, one way or another. Tom seems unsure, but Clay assures him he's going to ring the doorbell just in case. They must have cut that scene out though, because he just immediately breaks into the door with a crowbar, which luckily works out okay. They enter the house and find a grisly scene, with several people having met their end inside. Clay takes a weapon from one of the bodies on the floor, and they make their way past the massacre to find more of what they came for. Fortunately, it seems like they hit the jackpot, so they arm themselves heavily and set out. As they're leaving the house, they spot a boy sitting on a swing in the backyard. They approach the boy, calling out to him to see if he is normal. But of course he isn't, and he springs into a violent attack. Tom quickly puts a large hole in the boy's chest with their newly acquired firearms, as more of the zombies start to swarm them out of nowhere. They run away into the woods after we first see Tom dual-wielding pistols like an absolute badass. They hide under an overturned boat as the monsters surround them. After a short while in their hiding place, the zombies start to produce some kind of horrifying signal from their mouths before they slowly start shuffling away. After a while, the group are free to continue their journey. They surmise that the monsters' minds must be linked somehow because of how quickly the others came out once the boy on the swing saw them. Before long, they find themselves approaching a school, and as they walk up, they are greeted by the headmaster, Charles, and one of the students, Jordan. Charles welcomes them to stay, and then leads them out to a football field where they see the entire field is covered with sleeping zombies while music plays in the background. Charles tells them they are completely safe as the zombies appear to be comatose as long as the music keeps playing. He stabs one with this sword to demonstrate, and it hardly reacts. He thinks when they are like this that they are rebooting, or perhaps upgrading. He invites them inside for drinks and discussion. Charles believes the zombies are a hive mind with telepathic abilities, and that they are evolving at a rapid rate. He thinks they might be the next phase of human evolution, as their collective consciousness could lead to a world without war. Despite this, he knows that they must be destroyed if the human race hopes to survive, and the others agree. Charles casually suggests burning them all alive, and as luck would have it, they happen to have a spray truck full of gasoline for exactly this purpose. With literally zero convincing, Clay and Tom decide to drive the truck together, and even bring some whiskey for the trip. They drive out across the football field while spraying the gasoline, driving right over the sleeping zombies. Fortunately, as Charles had promised, none of them even react. They then light the gas and set the zombies ablaze. A few stragglers get up, but they are quickly put down by the group's force multipliers. Their victory is short-lived, however, as the spray truck then explodes, hitting Charles and ending his life. They decide to move onward, and a distraught Jordan joins them. They camp for the night in a nearby shop, where later in the evening they all receive similar disturbing nightmares involving a disfigured man wearing a red hoodie. They exchange their stories upon waking, and it turns out this man is the same character from Clay's graphic novel called The Night Traveler. For some reason, though, this stunning revelation doesn't seem to interest them, as they don't discuss it at all and decide to just move on in silence instead. They see a billboard later with the words "Cash Whack" and "No Foe" spray painted on it. They debate whether it means no phones, like a dead zone for cell phones, or whether it might just be a trap. Later that night, they are given shelter at a bar by another group of survivors, but unfortunately, one of the others becomes corrupted by the signal in the night, and a brawl breaks out, resulting in Alice losing her life. The young Jordan is crushed, but their journey continues. After a lot more walking, the group comes across another couple of survivors named Ray and Denise. Ray seems clearly unhinged, and mentioned that someone named the President of the Internet said they would come. He says that they get to you in your sleep, so he hasn't been sleeping, and he's been awake for over 6 days. He goes on to tell them that the Cash Whack place is a trap, and that the President of the Internet is the man in the red hoodie from everyone's dreams, the Night Traveler, and Ray has plans to take him down. Despite Ray seeming out of his mind, they decide to go with him and Denise in his ice cream truck. They even let Ray drive. The guy who's been awake for 6 days is driving. They drive for a while before Ray pulls over and walks off into the woods, beckoning Clay to follow him so they can have a chat. He tells Clay the ice cream truck is loaded with explosives and gives him a phone to detonate it. He tells him to call the number when the time is right. He says he will know when. Before Clay can stop him, Ray then detonates some explosives he had around his neck, and Clay is forced to go back to the truck and tell the others what happened. They continue their journey. Finally, Clay arrives at his family's house in Manchester and goes in by himself to investigate. We see the house was ransacked, but there was a note on the fridge and magnets, apparently from Johnny, saying his mom was lost to the signal and that he is going to Cash Whack. Clay tells the others that he has to go to Cash Whack to find his son, and understandably, no one else wants to join him. Before he leaves them, he tells them to spray paint their initials, TJD, as they walk, so Clay can find them later once he rescues his son. He hops in the truck, and they go their separate ways. Later that night, Clay arrives at his destination, only to see a disturbing sight. There is a massive horde of zombies stumbling around a large antenna in the middle of a field. You can hear the sound of their footsteps reverberating through the air. As he gets closer, we can see that there are thousands of zombies circling the gigantic antenna. Remember what he and Tom had done earlier? He slowly drives forward to the crowd of zombies, and as he was hoping, they all just bounce off of his truck harmlessly and continue marching forward. When he gets near the center where the antenna is, he is confronted by the night traveler, the man in the red hoodie. As it turns out, this is no problem though, as he just hits the man with the ice cream truck, which sends him flying. He then gets out of the truck, and just for good measure, fires several rounds from his shotgun into the demon's chest. Can't be too careful. He looks around, distraught now, as he realizes his son is likely among the horde. Clay begins to run through the crowd looking for him, shouting his name while he searches. After a while, he gives up and collapses in the middle of the circle. He takes the flip phone out of his pocket and is about to make the call to blow up the truck, when suddenly his son Johnny appears before him, looking kind of normal. Clay goes to him and hugs him. After a moment though, Johnny tilts his head back and begins emitting a horrific sound, like the zombies did earlier when they were hiding under the boat. The rest of the zombies in the massive circle begin to do the same thing, and we suddenly see that the man in the red hoodie is standing again as well, joining in the chorus of shrieking voices. Clay knows what he must do, so he takes out the phone again and dials it, which causes an explosion that destroys everything and everyone in the area as the scene fades to black. We then see Clay and Johnny walking down some train tracks in the woods. The lighting is dreamy and ghost-like. We say they are following the spray-painted initials Clay had told the others to put up for them. He tells Johnny they are headed to Canada. The scene then fades, and we are taken back to the horde of zombies marching around the antenna in a large ring. As we zoom in on the faces of the zombies, we see the face of Clay among them, showing that he too has become corrupted by the signal, and everything since reaching Cashwhack had only been a dream. Like and subscribe to see more videos like this one. See you next time.